everybody. Thank you for being here. It's Izabela Vidovic here with George Xanthis, who is my castmate on our latest film, The Accursed, which is an Almost Normal Productions film. George and I are here to talk to you all, just answer some fun, kind of goofy questions even, and get you involved. If you haven't seen the film, it's great, and I think you should hop on. It's on Amazon now, and if you have seen the film, feel free to, hop on the conversation, ask some questions. So I like to start with this question because it's kind of goofy, but who made you break character most often? I think I know the answer to this, but...
Oh, well, I'm sad if you do know the answer. I'm hoping you get it right. I'm going to say you.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Look, it's kind of it's a mixture of an actor question and a goofy question, because basically, long story short, we kind of hung out a lot before the film started, which I think is important for any actor to do on a job, because you have shared experiences. And the one blemish on the shared experiences is you start laughing at things when you shouldn't. But it's a small little, negative to the massive amounts of positives, which is, I always equate it to having, like, when two people's eyes, there is a string between their eyes as opposed to just dead space. That string was full of, like, fun and laughter, which is great. And you can turn that into, any sort of energy you want. But we mentioned this broom thing, and I want to remember if I got it right.
I was like, is he going to remember, like, when I asked this question? Because I was kind of putting these questions together, and I'm like, what do I ask? And I'm like, this was very much geared to you, because I didn't really see a lot of other people break besides us. So I was like, I wonder if George is A, going to remember it's me, and B, going to remember the broom.
Was it not something, am I right? Was it not a broom that was there? Someone was moving it, and then someone else is like, has that broom been moved? And they would move it back. Right. And it kept, is that right? Did it keep showing up, or?
I think the broom, like, I think it kept showing up. And then, like, at one point, was there, like, a face on it? Or, like, was there, like, a thing that...
Oh, my God.
I can't remember. I don't even... You know what? That's a bad example, because I don't remember it. But it became so much of a thing that every time... It was the broom that we jump over in the wedding scene. And it became so much of a thing
That's right.
that every time we saw it, like, sitting somewhere on set, we just could not get through, like, starting a take.
It's because someone wanted to move it. And me being the silly person I am, I said to you, like, they moved that broom. And because we both noticed it getting moved, when it came back and we saw someone else going, what's this broom doing here? We, like, lost it, because we're like, that thing, it's like kind of got a mind of its own. It's like got a spirit in it, which is, good for the film, the whole spirit and stuff.
It was super fitting. I think,
but you made me laugh. You made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, you did too. I think that ends up working to your advantage, though. Like you said, when you're working with somebody who you're supposed to have, like, this history with, and this foundation, it's nice to have that already built in when you go on set versus having to fabricate it, I think. So it's not always a bad thing. I was going to ask you what you think your character eats for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Because I think you had some fun with some of the food on set. So I'm like, I wonder if
so hold on. It's now, I'm blanking on the name of it, but you're going to pronounce it better than I ever could. But we call them kind of like a dolmaza in Greek. But you guys have the same thing in Bosnia. Sarma, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Literally, I think I get up. In the movie, I'm, like, in my pajamas eating with them. I'm not like this guy. Petar seems to eat summer breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I would definitely say that.
Yeah,
he needs his
and,
strength.
like, maybe the kukuruza.
Kukuruza. I got that wrong every time, by the way. I was, like, calling it it was kukuruza. I was calling it kurukuza or something like that. I kept getting that name
I don't
wrong.
even know if I just said it right. So this is going to be really, really fun, because I can't quite take this out. This is a live.
There we go.
So,
that was tasty.
It was.
It was like cornbread. Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. That's incredible.
One of our co-directors, Catherine, she made that on set. Yeah, that was a fun scene. I actually really enjoyed that scene, the whole group scene with you, me, Mayada, and Yancy. And I remember we had rehearsed it a bunch, because it was like a 6-page scene. Yeah.
An acting note, always mime eating in rehearsals. Always. Otherwise, you end up like me, and you'll be full by not even take one.
I
So,
know. I felt bad, and it wasn't even your close-up. Ugh, that was, I mean, at least it was good, though. My
yeah,
mom
no,
made the sadma.
oh, so good. It was. I need the recipe for it because
Yeah.
it's dangerously close to dolma, but still a little bit different. So it's enough for me
Yeah.
to go. Let's bring out the sadma and the dolma, and we'll have this Greek Balkan fusion.
Yeah, somebody said, love me some dolmas, so you're not the only one. That's funny.
Beautiful.
I love that. So then, okay, I guess on that note, talking about, that specific scene, what was your favorite scene to film on set? Do you remember? Without, like, a big spoiler, if it includes
Oh,
one.
right. Okay. Well, there is a photo of, you just said we jumped over the broom and because we were getting married. That's
Yeah.
not, is that a spoiler? That's not a spoiler. So yeah,
No.
that whole thing, because I'll tell you why, because it reminded me of a lot of Greek weddings. So, that family kind of, there's a lot about this film that is about family. That's why I felt instantly connected to it. Just reminded me of being in Greece, and we had this conversation a lot as well. Like I found, yourself and your family as well, like kind of comforting, especially not being originally from, America.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff in the film made me feel really kind of at home. So yeah, that was great. I don't want to give too much away about what's in those, scenes, but
No,
music
you're not.
and
I really enjoyed
fun.
that myself because all the I always love scenes where like you've got the whole cast because it's such a rare occurrence, I feel like, and we have this great ensemble, and I liked because that scene was shot, I think, over the course of like 2 or 3 days. Like I think we had to split it up because there's so many little pieces to the wedding. So then, okay, what was your least favorite scene?
So that's interesting because I thought now that I've seen the film, I kind of wanted to switch my favorites and least favorites. Like my least favorite shooting it was look, I don't think I can say the least favorite actually. I can't really say it. Let's just say that there is
as an actor, like it won't offend, maybe just like personally.
But I can't because I think it's a spoiler. Might be a spoiler for the film, least favorite. So let's just say, look, there's just, when you test yourself as an actor, like you need to kind of go to specific areas, in terms of emotion. There are specific areas of the film that I had to go to. And it felt at first jarring and I felt uncomfortable, but then I watched it, and this is kind of a lesson to any actor. And this is kind of what I've learned as well. I've had the pleasure of working with some heavy hitters this year. We're talking Oscar winners and Emmy Award winners, and they're so normal and relaxed on set, and it kind of doesn't have to be this big, trust the camera will catch it, and the camera caught it in our film. I was really happy. So something that I was really nervous about ended up being really, really cool. So it felt least favorite. It felt least favorite, but in the end it looked great. So I was happy.
That's good. That's good that it didn't feel great and then look horrible for you.
Yeah. Well, I was worried about myself. I knew you guys would make it look great. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? I don't know how I'm going to do this.
No, I feel that. I mean, I actually know exactly what you're talking about now that you mention it, because I remember that being a conversation of like, oh, this is so unfamiliar. This is uncharted territory. Yeah. Which is fun. It's a lot of fun to get to do that, especially when it turns out good. If you could play any other character in the Accursed, gender aside, who would you play, you think?
Well, I was originally going to say Matai's character. Is it Danny? Is that?
Mirai's character, Mirai Vidovic plays Danny.
Mirai.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry,
well, no, you got it mixed up because his brother's name in it is Mate. So it's like...
Oh, there we go. All the ends.
You got it right.
But I was going to say, but then, I started getting and again, I don't want to reveal too much from the film, so you let me know what I can reveal. But because of what I seen them do in the film, Zara was so cool. Well, that's the correct answer, I think.
Zara,
she's got
you could. I mean, I feel like you could say it because Zara, she's got.
She has abilities.
She's got abilities, and she's able to summon up a swarm of bees upon someone.
Oh, that's incredible. That's like an X-Man or something, full on, you audition for the Avengers there and then. So definitely be Zara, and I don't know how much of a power that is, but anyway, that's kind of what they would do. I'm sure they'd come in handy in Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, I know. I know. It was a really cool, it was funny seeing her film that scene because, there was just like this, this look that she had to give, but nothing was happening because it was all in
Yeah,
the visual effects. That's almost like the
yeah.
worst thing to do as an actor is to film a scene that has to be done. Well,
Well,
because you
that's
had
kind of what I was alluding to before. When there's CGI involved,
yeah,
it's hard for an actor. Maybe that's to round off the answer to the previous question. When there's
yeah.
CGI involved, it's difficult for an actor. You also had it as well with, it's in the trailer. You got some vine
With
leads
the
or some
with the
vines
fire
going
thorn
around your
climbing
leg.
up my leg, but nothing's really climbing up your leg, and you're just
Yeah,
supposed to be like in pain, and it's weird. I think it was my first time, and you can say for yourself, I think it was my first time working with visual effects like that, with CGI like that.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
I've done it a little bit, but not yeah. Like
yeah,
it's always different. You never know. Like
yeah.
it's always going to be different.
It's true. It's
But
true.
Zara, Mayada had a great character, and I would
Yeah,
go with her. Because also she's like really cool as well. She's kind of like you're lame, and like she's
yeah,
like a
yeah.
cool
She's the
kid,
light.
and then also had powers. It was just
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
incredible.
cool character for sure. I was original. Can you guess who I was originally? Do you know who I was originally attached as?
Zara?
No,
Oh, who?
Aisha.
Oh wow! Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
isn't that
That would
crazy?
be interesting,
It would be
especially
interesting.
because it's in the trailer. I have a scene with Aisha
Yeah,
that's in the
me too.
trailer, and that would
Yep.
be very interesting. That now with how we're good friends and we have these inside jokes.
I
That
know.
I don't think I could get through that. They would have to shoot me separate, especially
No.
if you're kind of where you are.
No, I could not. Well, also, I have to say, also, I'm going to do this again for everybody just joining. We're talking about our horror film, The Accursed. It's new, and I'm talking about the creature in the film. And that
Yeah.
that creature, Aisha, she took on so many different forms, and we actually didn't have the look of Aisha until the day of filming. It was the day of filming.
Wow. Yeah.
We hired Jenna Carpenter, and she's a contortionist in real life, and she's really talented with movement, and she's an actress as well. And so it ended up just taking the form of really great special effects, and then somebody who could actually embody the character physically.
Mm. No,
You know,
absolutely, and that's again something that you find when the actor kind of feels something in the moment. So
definitely.
yeah, that no, it was great, and yeah, I've had some scenes perhaps with Aisha and the
Yeah.
creature, and it was
Yes,
interesting.
we all have. It was interesting. Okay, so I have two questions left for you. One of them is a question that I ask everybody every week before the film was out, when I was doing these lives with some actor friends. And so I wanted to ask it to you to kind of keep along that theme. So, obviously you've been in the spotlight and you're familiar with what that's like. So what can you say about how you've experienced yourself in that? Have you felt, worthy, for a lack of a better word?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think I mean not to get too deep and personal with it, but like as an actor, someone put it perfectly where they called it an imposter complex I was talking actually with I do a podcast as well about acting,
Mm-hmm.
and I was chatting with one of my castmates. His name's Jordan, and he says that there can be this imposter or intruder complex where you feel like I did this, but is it because there was no one else, or is it because, and I don't know why, but
Mm-hmm.
there's been some jobs maybe where I was maybe second in line and then I jumped up to first because someone couldn't do it, or there was another job I did where they didn't have my headshot up because there were rights issues. I was playing John Travolta in this biopic,
Oh.
and they didn't have my face up there. And I swear to God, I thought it was because they were ready to replace me. They're like, we're going to find someone better. And I was like, can you just put my headshot up? Because they're like, oh, yeah, we printed it. We can't find it. And I'm like, They're just lying to me.
Yep.
Excuse the birds, by the way. This is Australia and they're very loud. But I guess, you know, when you're, yeah, like you said, in the spotlight and everything, there's still a little part of me that's kind of like, oh, have I done enough to kind of get here? And you know what? It's not the worst instinct to have, because I found that early on when I was doing some comedy work, you know, back in Australia, I was getting a little bit of kind of, you know, I was in the spotlight, so to say, and I let all of my other work go. And I would say to any actor, it's always important to keep your co-curricular activities up. Keep writing, keep filming random stuff, film impressions, film funny videos, do stuff like this. You got to keep that stuff up, because it just keeps you on your toes, because acting is a muscle. Not only acting, but art is a muscle. And so the minute you drop it, I think, I don't know, it comes out in your work. So yeah, I think that little fear of the intruder, imposter complex might keep me able to stay sustained for longer. So yeah, I have been a little bit, you know, it's been strange when you are in the spotlight, but it's good. Eddie Murphy always says before he goes out on stage, he's petrified. The great Eddie Murphy, comedian, says, I'm petrified, and I love that. He goes, if I wasn't petrified, then it showed I don't care as much. So it's good to have that fear, because it drives you.
Yeah, well, that, you know, you saying that Eddie Murphy said that, because my, you know, that's very similar to something that my mom has always told me, and I've shared this with other people before. She always said that it's good to have butterflies before you perform, because it means that the butterflies are going to carry you into the performance. And that was something she told me when I was little, but, and, you know, obviously it stuck with me, but now it's just sentimental. But there's a part of it that's so true, because I feel like if you're not nervous, you're not, you know, do you care? I often ask that. Does it, you know, do you really love it? Do you really care? If you don't have those good nerves, you know, kind of swirling around you, I feel like when people lose that, it starts to mean that maybe it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, exactly. And to put into context, Eddie Murphy said that, and to make it a double whammy, it was Jerry Seinfeld who asked him that question. And Jerry says, do you still get nervous? And then Eddie Murphy's like, every time. And Jerry's like, same. And they're like, both of them. I mean, Jerry Seinfeld is one of the most prepared comedians and one of the greatest comedians of all time. And he gets afraid, and he's written everything. He's got every line, every intonation, everything is planned, and he's still nervous. You know, Eddie Murphy does a lot of improv and stuff, so he's got a right to be nervous, but yeah, even at that. So the greats are all nervous, so it's okay to be nervous. It's good.
Yeah. No, I think that's really, really good advice to anybody out there who's watching this live and is also a fellow artist, performer, you know, or just, I guess, anybody who puts their work out for other people to see and to receive. You know, I think whether that means you're performing on stage, or you're putting something out, like a piece of writing, you know, an art piece. I think that there's nerves always involved with art in general.
All the time. All the time.
With anything creative. So, okay, George, I have a question. This is segueing. If you could sum the film up, our movie, The Accursed, in one word. I always hate this question, by the way, but I'm going to ask you. If you could sum it up in just one word, what word would you choose?
I know, every time I think about this, I actually came up with a new word in this conversation, which is great. So it feels like it's fitting to how my acting style is, improv. Because I'm cheating a little bit, because people know that it's horror and everything. My one word would be family.
Oh.
And that kind of, it's great, because horror films should always be, it has a double-edged sword, you know, can mean two things. But if you, again, it's cheating a little bit. If someone was to say, here's a horror film and here's this one word to describe it as family, it's like, oh, that's kind of how it combusts on itself. That's, and we were just chatting about having that, the wedding, and me kind of feeling like this is a family. That's the perfect place to be. Jordan Peele said, as he was writing sketch comedy, by the way, he says sketch comedy and comedy in general is a lot like a horror film. You always establish the norm and then subvert it. That's where your comedy comes from, but that's also where the screams and the fear comes from in a horror film. Always start with normal. So you start with a normal family, and that's kind of what this is. And you know, does that's got a lot to do with where the film leads to. So yeah, that's the word I'd use. I don't know if it's correct, but I'm
No,
using it.
I like it. I think it's ambiguous and it makes people wonder, like, how does a family relate to horror? And I think it's interesting because you're right. This film is very, it's all about family ties, and
Yeah.
it's got a twist. It's a very twisted take on family and loyalty and guilt and all those interesting themes, you know.
Twisty as a firethorn plant.
Oh yeah, and to get that reference, you'll have to just see the
So
movie.
watch the
Um,
film. Yeah.
yes, by the way, George Xanthis, who I've been speaking with and speaking with you all, he is fantastic in the film. He plays Peter, and I play Sunny. And if you would like to see some of what we've been talking about, which is a horror film built around a family and with creepy vines, you know, getting entangled, you'll just have to check it out. It's actually available on Amazon as of today, and it's available on Vudu, and it's available on iTunes, Apple TV, YouTube, all the great platforms. So you'll have to check it out and let us know what you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Thank you so much for being on here, George. It's been great talking to you.
Oh, thank you so much. No, it's been awesome. And also like the chat around not only the film, but, you know, getting to chat about acting stuff. You know, if there are people here who are familiar with, you know, podcasts that I do and whatever, I love chatting about acting. So thank you so much thank you so much for that. Like it's, you know, you always have a new conversation, and the things that artists and actors would never think of. And yeah, no, it's been great. It's been great to see you as well. We have to catch up next time we're in the same country or city.
I know. Finally, when we're both in LA, or if I'm in Australia, who knows? You know, things are a little tricky these days, but that would be great. So, you know, definitely we'll catch up. And then, yeah, also, if you do really enjoy conversations about acting and about creativity like this, you should definitely check out George's podcast, because it's really kind of similar along those same lines. So,
oh yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's called Act Up, by the way, for anyone who wants to give it a check out. It's really someone there saying, love hearing about the craft. Yes, it's very interesting. Actors are fascinating specimens, fascinating creatures.
Or so we like to think we are.
Yeah, absolutely. As the doorbell goes.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, George. And I hope everybody enjoys the film. It's The Accursed.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Bella. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thank you.